IH advertising schemes they had over the years. As we all realize, IH was a master at advertising and marketing. They used several different schemes and all, and I just want to highlight a few of these as we talk tonight. And they're kind of illustrated on that paper so you can kind of understand what we're talking about. They often targeted the popular thing at the time. Now, back in the 50s and 60s, us boys run around with a coonskin hat on, right? Y'all have one of these growing up? You know, I was in the 60s with Daniel Boone. Some of you older guys than me were Davy Crockett back in the 50s, you know. But they would kind of target what was popular at the time. And there at the top on the front page, it was they used a little cartoon frontier man. And the scheme of that was trading, like the pioneers trading with the Indians. And it was a trader marketing scheme, you know, what they would do that with. So that's just an example of how they would use something popular at the time to market their products. Then the Blue Ribbon Service campaign started. And some of y'all are familiar with this. This was kind of like a tractor refurbish merchandising program. Dealers kind of had the underlying reason for doing this to keep their mechanics busy in the off season. But in the Blue Ribbon Tractor program, you take your tractor into a dealer and they'd do a complete tune-up, you know, all that kind of thing. One component of it was they would refurbish your tractor. They would do a Craig Sumner restoration, which means they would paint it and put decals on it and maybe paint the rims if you wanted them to as well. But that was a program that they used for that purpose. It benefited the farmer, obviously, but it also helped the dealers to keep their mechanics engaged and have shop work through them regulated throughout the year. It's kind of interesting when you see an original Blue Ribbon decal. Ray Smith's friend up in West Virginia, Dusty, that comes to our Got to Be MC show, he has an original Blue Ribbon Cub. He calls his Cub Dusty. But it's the original Blue Ribbon decal there on the front leg of his hood, and but it's one that survived. And as I remember, Dusty had a real nice information board about the Blue Ribbon program. But that was kind of, and they use that a lot in their advertising through the years. And then 1950 was a pivotal year for IH advertising. There's several things that went on that year. And one was the demo program. And in 1950, and this is a copy of the decal, the posters that went on the white demo tractors. And as y'all know, it was the Cub, the Super A, and the Super C, like Greg has. Is that right? Is it just a regular C? Well, they used those three tractors, and what they would do, as y'all are familiar with this, they'd paint them white so they would stand out and attract attention. And then they would use these at demos on farms, field days, fairs, and things of that nature. And a white tractor would catch people's eye. And then I think the arrangement was when they sold the tractor, they would take it back into the dealer and paint it red. Was that a requirement for them to do that? Could the buyer keep it white if they wanted to? They wasn't supposed to. A few of them survived. You see one once in a blue moon that survived, you know. But it's a serial number range, and it was the first 3 months of 1950 they did that. And of course, you know the story. If you have that serial number range and it's white up under the red, it's probably original demo. And it's a collector thing now. You see these at shows pop up once in a while. And but that was a marketing scheme that they used in the 1950 with those three models on that. And then in 1950, the World's Fair in Chicago, President Truman wanted that fair to highlight industry. And of course, at that time in America, agriculture was a very big component of American industry. And International Harvester used the setting of the 1950 Chicago Fair to market their new Cub tractor that they just put on the market a few years prior to that. And they called it the Cubster program. And I was able to get hold of an original Cubster hat. And the workers would wear these. They would also give them to children, you know, and what they would do, as I understand, they would set up a little obstacle course there at that 1950 Chicago Fair, and the children would be allowed to drive the cub through that little obstacle course. And when they did, they probably would give them a cubster helmet. And then on the back, Chuck Mann has an original Farmall Cub Club card. He has an original one that's in real great shape. You know, I don't bid against my buddies on this online bidding stuff. And if Chuck Mann hadn't been bidding on that card, I'd have bought that thing. But Chuck's got one, got it framed real nice. But this is a reproduction of that. And they give the child the Farmall Cub membership card, you know, that they were a member of the Farmall Cub Club, you know. So that was a good advertisement scheme for them in the 1950 era, and they did it at other sites as well. These cubster helmets are really hard to find. Most times they bring money that I'm not going to spend myself, but a few of them survived, and but that's what that was. And in the same token, they would target youth, and because they know if they could get the youth on board, and one thing that's interesting that I found a few years ago is these how to play baseball cards that they put out. And this is, I think this is a complete set, and how to do shortstop and all that. And then on the back, they would advertise some component of what they sold, parts or things of that nature. And the dealers would give these to the little boys and girls when they come with their mamas and daddies to the dealership. But this is another example of how Harvester would target children, you know, and get them interested in coming with them to the dealerships and all of that on that. There's several things that they did. This is a little sign that my wife gave me. It's America's Top 10 from 1957, you know, when they changed styles and all of that. But there's a lot of different things that they did in those years on that. So, but International Harvest, I said, they were a genius at marketing. They used what was popular at the time, whether it be a coonskin hat or whatever it was, to resonate with the people and their customers there. Any questions about anything? Can anybody think of any other marketing things? It takes several weeks to talk about all of the marketing programs that International Harvester had, because like I said, they were certainly a master at it for sure on that. I think so. You know, if they had a marketing division today, and David Furlan, you don't want to hear this, but it'd probably be something like this: make all tractors red again. But they were certainly a master at marketing, and very interesting to keep learning about that kind of thing, as I know John Deere was as well, David. They had their program as well. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, thank you.